Hi, my name is Asia Chandler, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to do a head-to-toe assessment of the integumentary system. The integumentary system includes your hair, skin, and nails. There are two things I like to point out before I actually start the assessment. One, as you can see, my patient does have a gown on, but underneath she is fully clothed because we are in a school environment. If you were in a hospital or a doctor's office, you would not be fully clothed, you would just have the gown on. Also, when I do the skin part of the assessment, you'll notice that I only really look at her arms and her face, but in reality, like in a real doctor's office or hospital, they would look at your sides, your arms, your back, your legs, skin everywhere. But again, because of the environment I'm in, I'm just paying attention to two parts of her body. So, let's begin. The first thing I'll do is start with medical history. I would ask my patient questions about her bathing routines. I would ask her the shampoos, soaps, lotions, and oils that she uses. I would ask her about any rashes or itchy spots she's noticed, or colors in her skin, changes. I would also ask her things about her allergies. Does she know any allergies that she does have? And once I get all the medical history down, I will then move on and start the assessment. The first part of the assessment, because remember this is a head-to-toe assessment, I'll start at her scalp. So the only PPE you need for this, which is personal protective equipment, is basically gloves, because you don't really need a mask or a gown or anything. You don't suspect things to get messy in here. Once I have the gloves on, if her hair was up in a ponytail or she had some type of headband or something on, in case that headband, I would ask her to remove it or take her hair out of the ponytail. I would then part her hair and put it in the light. Make sure you have really good lighting so you can see clearly. And I would just rub my fingers through her hair. I'm looking for things like balding spots, so hair loss. I'm looking for even distribution throughout the hair. I'm looking for thickness. You don't want anywhere to be really thin. I'm also feeling for texture of her hair. I'm watching out for any scalp lesions or bugs, so lice or ticks. Also dandruff, which is white flakes coming from the scalp, or maybe even wingworms, which are circular fungal infections. So just rubbing through her hair. And lastly, as I'm looking, I'm going to note any discoloration I see as far as like dyes. So is this her natural hair color, or does she have any type of chemicals in her hair? Which, if she does, that's absolutely fine, but you just want to note that she does have chemicals in her hair. Once I'm done with the hair assessment, I'll remove my gloves and dispose of them. And then move on to the skin part of the assessment. So first things first, I'll look at her arms, and I'm looking for things like color. I want to make sure she has even pigmentation, meaning she doesn't have any lighter or darker spots. I'm also looking for things like jaundice, which is a yellow color to the skin, which means there could be problems with your liver, pancreas, or gallbladder. And also redness, which can be from like sunburn, and maybe even carotene overload, which is the excessive eating of orange foods, so for example, carrots. And she looks perfectly fine. I'm then going to feel her for temperature. So you want her to be warm, not too hot, not too cold. A good temperature, well, the average temperature is about 98.6. Anything below that is hypothermia. Anything above that is hyperthermia. That's really bad. You don't want any of that. And she feels perfectly fine. I'm then going to do a thing called a skin turgor. This determines if the patient is hydrated or not. You simply place your index and your thumb finger on the skin, and you pinch and you kind of form a tent, and when you release, it should automatically snap back in place. If you do this and it goes back to place immediately, it means the person is hydrated. If you do it, and I'll do it once more, and it like forms this kind of tent and slowly when you release goes back to its position, it means the person is dehydrated, so you need to get some fluids going for them immediately. I'm also going to feel around on her skin for dry spots. Dryness can come from like excessive dryness can come from like excessive use of soaps or anything, but she doesn't feel dry at all. You'll mostly see dehydration and dryness of the skin within the elderly. It is possible to see it in younger kids or adults, but mostly common in the elderly. Then I'm going to look for things like scars. So, does the patient have any scars? which she does. She does. She has one. And I would just simply ask how that happened. Does it bother her at all now? How long ago was it? And what did the doctor do in the previous visits to this? So did it heal by itself, or did she have to have stitches? And we'll talk about that for a little while. Then I'll move on to things like bruises. Bruises is like a blackish blue mark that you can easily get from like bumping your leg on a table or anything. Those aren't uncommon, but I would just ask how she got it and how long it's been there, which she doesn't have any bruise. And rashes. Rashes are really common as well. It's like an itchy spot that you're itching at. You might not even notice it's a rash. You're just like itching at something and you're like, whatever, paying it no mind. But if I do see a rash, if it's really red, I would ask her how long has it been there, and how did it appear? So did it like just a pop up? You woke up one morning and it was there, or did you see it spreading throughout a couple of days? And I would ask her, has she been using any treatments for it? So has she done any lotions or anything?
Well, she
And
sat
then
there, and I had said already.
just look around for rashes.
She purposefully
She's
did
all
that.
set.
I told the class, that's stupid.
And moles. Moles would be like this. She has a mole in her neck, which is not abnormal at all. People have moles, but you're looking for what the mole actually looks like. So when I look at this mole,
The closest person was sitting.
I'm really looking at it. I'm looking at the size of it, the height of it.
But I can see there's a hurt on my paper too.
And the reason you really want to pay attention to moles is because they can be cancerous cells. Some descriptions of moles that can be cancerous are like jagged edges, uneven edges, discoloration. Half of the mole is really light, half the mole is dark. The height can be off, or it could have formed a funny looking shape or whatever. That could be signs of like melanoma, basal, or squamous cancers. And her mole looks fine. Nothing looks abnormal about it. Also, you could use a dermoscopy, which is a tool that you would hold up to the mole. It's basically like a magnifying glass. It would zoom in like 10 times the size of the mole, so you can really get in there and see exactly what it looks like. But her skin looks really well. Do you have any complaints?
This is the same girl.
No itching.
Alright, so once we're done with the skin, we lastly move on to the nails, which will be the end of our assessment. So I'm looking at her nails. Her nails are a nice length. I would ask her has she has any trauma to her nails, so I'm looking for like any like bluish black nail bed, which she doesn't have. I would ask her, do her nails grow to a certain length and then break off, or are her nail beds really thin? And they look absolutely fine. And lastly, I would discuss with her acrylic nails, which could be a sign or a source of fungal infection, which you don't want. But she's all good. And with that being said, that's the end of our integumentary system head to toe assessment.